We ran a campaign a couple months ago where the from name was your air conditioner and the subject line was please help learn best quote unquote best practices from.
What is the number one thing that you see with people with email?
The first thing is that your email's landing in the spam folder. They're not even making it to the inbox. People love to ask about the perfect subject line. What's the best template, the best content of an email to send? The reality is none of that stuff will matter if you're not making it to the inbox. I don't even touch cold email. Cold email is illegal. Here's my pitch on why you should never touch cold email.
That's the wrong words on the podcast today. All right, we are live with another episode. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Without Rules, where we work to inspire business owners by bringing on guests who exemplify the hunter mindset. They make moves, they color outside the lines, and they have found creative ways to channel the attention of their community into currency. This show is sponsored by BlueCrocus Solutions, a web design and SEO agency focused on helping home service companies. I am your host, Lewis Vandervalk, and today I have the pleasure of chatting with Zac Garside. Zac is the president of Prolific Brand Design and a brilliant mind in email marketing for the home service industry. With a background that spans from coaching CSRs at Power Selling Pros, where he eventually became CEO, to building one of the only agencies focused exclusively on contractor email marketing, Zac knows how to turn a customer list into a goldmine. He's written over 1,000 high-performing emails across HVAC, plumbing, electrical, you name it, combining witty copy, deliverability know-how, and long-game strategy. After being acquired by Prolific, he now oversees brand design and strategy, merging eye-catching truck wrap with storytelling-driven email campaigns to create marketing systems that people actually enjoy engaging with. Zac's also a dad, a recovering CEO, and a firm believer that great marketing starts with knowing what you stand for and having the courage to say it out loud. Zac, welcome to the show.
Did I write recovering CEO? Did I say that? Did somebody else say that about me?
You didn't. Actually, ChatGPT came up with that, and I was like, I'm gonna use that as a storyline. But is that accurate?
I'm a president of a company now, so I didn't recover that well.
Yeah, let's change the title a little bit, right?
Yeah,
so I like it.
Man, awesome.
What did I not get right in the intro? It's quite a pedigree there.
Better. It made the pedigree sound much better than the pedigree in reality is. So I am a huge fan of the intro you just gave me.
We all say that about what other people say about us, but it's been pretty cool getting to know you. We've not known each other for a long time, introduced through a mutual friend, but it's been really cool researching you, chatting with you, the bit that we have, creeping your Facebook, getting into some of your email, marketing campaigns that you're sending my way. And this is going to be a fun episode. There's a lot of really interesting stuff. You've lived a very varied life as a business owner and, operator. And it ties right into what we talk about here on the show. Marketing without rules, getting out there, getting creative. We're going to talk email marketing. We're going to talk CSR stuff. We're going to talk, one of my favorite topics, which is, offline, out of the box marketing ideas. So I think we'll just dive in with the CSRs. CSRs is something, I know we chatted a lot about email marketing and we will, but CSRs is something that no matter how good your marketing is, no matter how many leads you get coming in the door, if you don't have someone answering the phone properly, then it's just not going to work. So I think to blend your storytelling with the tactical stuff here, could you start with like a real world story of someone who really helped their close rate by figuring out the CSR side of things?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm not a Power Selling Pros anymore, but I was there for 8 years, and you got to think about it like this. When customers call a home service business and they say, hey, how much is it going to cost me to get my furnace tuned up or to get, my drains are clogged in my house. If the person who answers the phone does a horrible job and is rude, condescending, acts like they'd rather be doing anything else, like getting back to their paperwork than serving the customer, then that customer will call someone else. And they often chalk it up to something like, oh, the price was too high, or I wanted to get a different opinion. But in reality, they just didn't like you. So yeah, for 8 years there at PSP, I trained, coached CSRs and entire call centers on how to book 85 to 90% of their calls by creating a wow experience customer.
That's a wild number too, just for people listening. 85 to 90% of bookings is very high. What's the industry standard? You would know better than me.
Yeah, probably 50, maybe 60%, a good average company. You got to think of it this way. When the customer is calling you, why would you not book 90% of those jobs? Sometimes people think that's wild. 90% of customers are booking jobs. And I say, well, yeah, they're reaching out to you. It's not cold calls. We're not even door knocking here. They literally called you for service. If you don't book it, then you must have done something wrong. Like, why else would they call you? People don't just wake up in the morning and go, you know what I want to do today? I want to call the local HVAC company to find out how much they charge for a tune-up. No, they only call if they have a problem that they need to solve. So you should book 85 to 90% of those calls, 100% in my opinion. If you don't, it generally reflects some kind of problem with your approach or your training or the type of people that you have on the phone.
Yeah, that's the toughest one. If you've done all the other stuff, you may have to let them go. But you mentioned a wow experience. What is a wow experience?
I think a wow experience is any moment, and this doesn't just apply to the CSR call, right? This applies to the emails as well when you're doing email marketing like I am now, or applies to the branding when they see a truck drive down the side of a road and they're like, wow, man, look at that. It's anything that makes them do a double take. That's my definition. Anything your business does that makes customers think twice, look twice, reconsider their previous opinion of you is a wow experience. It could be when a customer service rep goes above and beyond to make you smile, laugh, feel valued. Anytime this customer sees a truck wrap that's like pops, it stands out in the sea of traffic. Anytime they read an email that's funny, interesting. Oftentimes companies, when they're doing something like email marketing, for example, the from name will say, email from Awesome Heating and Cooling. Subject line, 35% off AC tune-up. So 35% off AC installation. That's probably a huge percentage off. I'm just making it up off the top of my head, though. What I look for, though, is we ran a campaign a couple months ago where the from name was your air conditioner and the subject line was please help. So right there in the inbox, before they've even opened it, right, I'm trying to stand out a little bit and create a wow experience, something that will make them do a double take. Your air conditioner sent you an email and the subject line is please help. And then the body of the email is something to the effect of, this is your air conditioner, Lewis. I'm sending you this message using electromagnetic pulses I sent from the thermostat to your cell phone. Just stuff that makes people laugh. That's different, out of the ordinary. I read a great email from a guy named Chris Orzakowski a week or two ago. He was basically calling people out who are like scared to send emails, scared to do something different, out of the ordinary in their marketing. And he said, your grandfather served in World War II, and you're afraid to send an email because you might get an unsubscribe or me reply. You are the weakest person in your bloodline. But that's what he said. And that's a little more like in your face than my approach is. But I was like, honestly, it's not that far off. Like, we've got all these things we take so seriously in life, and then we let that carry over into like how we market our businesses. But for me, the wow factor, the entertainment value, the ability to make your customers do a double take is absolutely non-negotiable for me in how you market and sell and grow your business.
It's huge.
Why not? Why not? Why are you limiting yourself to this box of boring corporate rules and how you grow your business and these best practices that work for one company, but may not work for you? Best practices are a whole nother thing where companies will say, hey, I'm trying to grow right now. Therefore, let me see what other companies have done to grow. And then we model our growth on what worked for someone else in a different company at a different time with no guarantee that it's going to work at all for you and your context. It's like if I started a toilet paper company in 2020 when the stuff was flying off the shelves. It was like the 2-ply revolution. And then in 2025, I start a coaching company and I'm like, I'm going to teach you how to build a toilet paper business just like me. Meanwhile, the context is completely different, right? People would come and they'd sign up for my coaching program. They'd follow my templates. They'd use my advice. But what I fail to disclose and what they fail to see in my advice is this dude started a toilet paper company in 2020 when the stuff was selling like hotcakes. He had a huge nest egg. He had a backup plan in case it didn't work out. He had people supporting him. You have none of those things. If this doesn't work, you're hosed. You have no support. Everyone thinks you're a lunatic. So the context of our business is so different from the businesses that we copy and learn best, quote unquote, best practices from. And then we're somehow surprised when it doesn't work. We act like, oh, this is so crazy. Why did this work for Guru A, but it didn't work for me? That's why the wow factor matters so much to me, because at the end of the day, I can't always compete on price. I can't always compete on budget. I can't always compete on volume or reach, but I can compete on the quality of service I provide, how hard I work, how different I am from everybody else in my approach to acquiring customers and delivering results. So I spend a lot of time thinking about those types of things and how to lean into that when I grow my business.
It's a big deal. I'm going to stick on the CSR side a little bit here and tie back in what you said there. I think that the antidote to just taking the pill and hoping it's going to work for your business, like you said, it's one size doesn't fit all in business. And we wish it would, and we wish we could just take the magic pill and sell toilet paper in 2025, but it's not going to work. But if we pull it back to CSRs here. Someone calls in, we'll use HVAC because that seems to be the theme of the conversation here, and they need help. What is it that a CSR can do to make that a wow experience?
What can a CSR do to create a wow experience? First of all, they can act like they want to be there. They can show positivity, energy, enthusiasm. Again, a lot of times the customer calls us TSR and the CSR sounds like they'd rather be doing anything else. Positivity, enthusiasm, confidence when you talk to the customer, and then ask questions. The person who asks questions controls the conversation. A lot of CSRs answer questions. They can answer every question under the sun, but then they never ask the customer anything. So ask questions, show empathy for the situation. This is unfortunate. This is inconvenient. This is hard, difficult, challenging. And yet many CSRs fail to acknowledge that or recognize that. Focus on what you can do, never what you cannot do. Ask for the business. For heaven's sakes, don't just let the customer walk away and say, I'll call you back. Ask them, when would you like to come out? Communicate value, explain your process and what makes you different before you communicate the price. Don't just tell them it's going to be $69 for you to come out because no one wants to pay for you to come out. Explain what's behind it. What are the details? Why do you charge that fee? And then show gratitude for the customer.
It's a big deal.
That's what I look for.
It's a big deal. And there's, oftentimes when you call someone, it feels like if they don't have a dedicated front office, even if they do have a dedicated CSR, you might be reaching the business owner and he's, kind of like, all right, you got to talk to somebody else, And that comes through, and that's certainly not helping your close rates or even your show up on the job to give a quote rate. So it's that's some simple stuff. But if you don't take anything else from this podcast, take that and just change how you answer the phones. And I think the first frame that you had, that's really sticking with me. If someone's called and they're reaching out, you should probably land that at least to go out and see if they if they want to avail of your services. Now, some people aren't a good fit and you're going to suss that out on the call. Maybe you can't offer the service, or maybe it's just something that's outside the scope of what you do. But in the case that it matches everything, 80 to 90%, I reacted because that's really high for industry. But you push back with saying, hey, if they're calling, they're not just window shopping. They might be window shopping, but they're not just calling to chat with someone. They're calling for a reason and solve and treatment, trying to solve a problem. Yeah, it's huge. Email. Let's dive into email a little bit. Why do you think that you shouldn't just write stuffy, boring, generic emails to your list? Well, actually, we'll get to that question. Hold that thought. What is the number one thing that you see with people with email? I jumped ahead to a little bit there, but let's start with that so that people can kind of relate to the fact that we're talking about email, because they probably have 1,000 to 10,000 emails sitting in their customer base that they've never touched.
Yeah, at least. The first thing is that your email's landing in the spam folder. They're not even making it to the inbox. People love to ask about the perfect subject line. What's the best template, the best content of an email to send? The reality is none of that stuff will matter if you're not making it to the inbox. The number of companies who I come across who think email doesn't work. And then I'll go into their account, I'll send a test email, and I'll never even see it. It won't even make it to my inbox. That's problem number one, is you have a deliverability issue. You have to solve that first. And then you've got to focus on the long game. I like to tell people it's a 5-year thing, not a 5-week thing. Mm-hmm. Just imagine for a moment if you were to nurture and build a relationship with your email list at least every single week for 4 years, where they come to trust the from name more than the subject line. Imagine the impact that will have on your business. When you show up in the inbox as Lewis Vandervalk, people see your name and then they open it, regardless of what the subject line says. It's like if your mom sent you an email today and you saw your mom's name in the from, she could leave the subject line blank. Like it would literally say no subject, and you don't.
Or she might put the whole email in the subject line.
Yeah, she put it in the wrong place. So for me, it's first, let's make sure you're landing in the inbox, not the spam folder. And second, let's focus on the relationship that we're building with your list, with that name in the from field. If all you're looking for is to get a quick buck and book a couple calls this week, and there's plenty of people who can help you. I'm not one of them. We're focused on the long game, long-term inbox placement and deliverability and relationship building. Because when you have the relationship, I could write any email. I could say anything I want to my email list to get sales. Like I am past the point of having to worry about what the content of the email says or the perfect offer, perfect subject line. I want the offer to be perfect, by the way, but I mean the way you frame it, where people are doing all this pretty design and HTML and all these copywriting tricks and tactics. I'm like, if you have a good relationship with your list, you could send an email that says, "Hi, Lewis, it's Zac. We just had 10 unexpected openings come up on our calendar this week. Would you like one of them?" Send. That's your whole email. And if people trust you and see you as a person of value and credibility, they're going to reply and you're going to fill those 10 spots. And you didn't have to dance around like a dummy on social media to do it. You didn't have to open up Canva and spend 3 hours on some template that screams advertising that you're going to paste into your email. All you had to do was send a message like a friend asking people to do business with you, and they do.
That's huge. Yeah. I've got, like Alex Hormozy sends out his 1 Minute Mondays, I think is what he calls them. I always open those emails. There's always something interesting and supportive. He's built trust with me through his socials, through his emails. Your 5-year thing, I talk about 90-day cycles a lot. You know, if you're starting up some sort of marketing thing, you know, expect it to take 90 days, whether you're out there spinning a sign on the corner or you're starting up, you know, posting for the first time on your social media, or you're starting SEO or email, right? Like you can't just expect something to happen right away. I like the 5-year, you know, growth thing because you're really doing that. I think I can look at that in my the history of BlueCrocus. So we're coming up on 6 years now in August, and social media has been big for me. So I've been posting pretty consistently on social media for almost 6 years. And I'll have people that I talked to, you know, 5 years ago reach out and say, hey, you know, we're ready now. We've been through 3 other agencies. It's time to make the move. But staying in front of people is key. So for email, I want to make the distinction. Are we talking about cold email, or are we talking about email to the customers that we've already served at one time or another?
Customers you've already served and have a relationship with. I don't even touch cold email. Cold email is illegal, folks. Cold email is not, I could rant about, we could do a whole episode where I'm just like, here's my pitch on why you should never touch cold email.
Put some wrong words on the podcast today.
Unless it's under one circumstance where you're doing one-on-one outreach. Bulk cold email is spam, period. End of story. You deserve to be in the spam folder. You do not belong in the inbox. No manipulating or twisting of words or systems will make you deserve to be in the inbox. If you're doing bulk cold email, you are deceiving people, manipulating them, and you deserve to be in the spam folder. Period. End of story. I don't even touch bulk cold email. I will not go near it. It's like people come to me and they're like, hey, will you help us break the law? I'm like, oh, what are you talking? If you ever heard of the Can Spam Act, like, have you ever heard of Can Spam?
Yeah, I have.
It's the official regulation. You're not supposed to do that. Like, this is super not legal, first of all. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there for the audience. You can't do bulk cold email. Like, it is such BS that companies do. It really, really pisses me off, actually, when companies go out, they buy a database of 20,000 people, and they're like, we're going to do cold email campaigns with these people. I'm like, have fun with your 0.2% response rate and enjoy the spam folder. Like, that's all I have to say, because that's the best response you're going to get. You're not getting a good response on the cold email. That's not happening ever. This is like the epitome of marketers who think that they're smarter than their customers, and their customers are stupid. That's what cold email really is. All these tactics are marketers and business owners who think their customers are stupid. And so they try to play into that. If you don't have a relationship, then you shouldn't be reaching out unless it's one-on-one. I am all for doing cold outreach one-on-one. Well, you have a person reach out. But this annoying thing, like, it happens all the time on LinkedIn. You know, my LinkedIn DM are it's uninhabitable now. I literally cannot even go into my LinkedIn DM. And when somebody, every once in a while, I will drop in, somebody will have some kind of automated pitch, and it's obvious too. They're not even trying, you know, they're just trying. It's obvious on both email and DMs that it's cold and it's bulk and it's automated, and they don't even know who I am. They did no research. They took no thought to figure out who I was. I'll just respond, was this an automated message? That will be my question. And if they say yes, I block them. I make it so they can never contact me again. And when I get these, like last week, I got like 3 bulk cold emails. They were obviously mass sent. They were not personalized whatsoever. And people do this annoying thing, right, where they send an email and then they send another email where they paste in the previous one underneath it to make it look like it's a continuation of this thread. Like, hey, Zach, did this slip past you? You know, did you see my last message? And I'm like, oh, yeah, hold on, let me spam. Get out of here. Like, I don't even want to see your face. Okay. It is so annoying. It's so disrespectful. And this goes to something that this guy, Jay Kunzo, who I really admire, talks about, which is most marketers act like they're running 101 level classes. They're trying to talk to you like you're stupid. If you want to really grow your business and stand out, treat your communication like an executive level forum. Because if you knew I am about to get in touch with the most important person that will ever talk to in my career, in my business, you would not treat them with the disrespect that people who do bulk cold email treat their customers with. Plain and simple. So that's my take on cold email. Don't do it. Don't ask me to help you do it. You will thank me. There are people who are like, oh, cold email. No, dude. It's bad practice. It's bad practice. It's irresponsible.
I like how many times you said that's all I'm going to say about that, and then you kept going, and I just let you rant.
And one more thing.
And what? I've done. So when I started our junk removal company, I scraped a list of restaurants. So I'm gonna do a flip side here and a little pushback to you.
Okay.
But I thought of it because you said the paste in the other email. So I did a thing where I would do a gift card giveaway. So I would reach out to restaurants, and I was really short on time. We had a couple of kids. I was running an agency. I was starting the junk removal business. So I scraped a list. I set up the templates, and then I did do the whole follow up thing. Like, hey, reference the other email thing. And I got some
For the
replies.
record, I speak from experience. I've tried this in the past.
Oh yeah,
like I've gotten my hands dirty. That's how I know and why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, so I've done that. We got a few replies, but there's nothing that can compare to the, a little bit of research, a little bit of getting your hands dirty and understanding who you're messaging. I like that executive level forum idea from you. Who did you say that was from?
Yeah, that's from Jay Kunzo is his name. That's all him, and he's brilliant. If you want to learn how to like really resonate with people who actually matter in your market and not the freebie seeking, one-on-one type crowd, he's really good at that stuff.
Yeah, so dabbled in a cold email as well. I just don't find it as effective as actually forming relationships either. So definitely back that up. But I wanted to clarify that everything we're talking about in email here is you've got a list. I certainly hope you have a list of people that you've served. It doesn't have as much, but I have talked to people who are like, oh, I just keep, invoices on a little tab. Those rip-off things where you did the invoice on the yellow paper and then you give the pink one. I talk about it like it's something novel. Maybe that's showing my age here, but I have talked to some people who are still doing that, and I strongly recommend they get some sort of capture of information from their clients, because now you have their phone number, their email. You can remarket to them exactly the way that we're talking about here with Zac, and you're not cold emailing. You're emailing people who already know you, like you, and trust you enough to exchange some sort of interaction with you, whether it was just someone that reached out to you for a quote potential, or they paid an invoice of any size, and you're just continuing to develop that relationship. So wanted to make that clear for people that you're sitting on a gold mine. Can you give, just to kind of drive the point home, what's a company, you don't have to name names, but a company that, was sitting on, let's say, a relatively small email list of people that they'd served, a small list of customers that they had served where they had the emails, and what's the story of how you monetize that list and basically turn that from a one-time purchase or contact to, now developing the relationship with their customers and monetizing that?
Yeah. We're really, for the record, when I get really fired up, again, I speak from experience on this stuff. Like,
well, no, I love it.
I'm
going to know you pushing for all of those fired up moments from Zac here.
Yeah. I always do when I get off his podcast, I'm like, I got to be careful, man. Because when I get fired up, like, but not one of my biggest client ever, biggest deal I ever signed for myself when I was still independent, was a cold email client. They were like, we've got hundreds of thousands of names that we want to email. And they were paying me a lot to try and build a cold email system. And when I figured out what it actually takes to be successful with cold email, because now I know what the system is, I know how to do it. I just couldn't get behind it. It was like, there's nothing authentic about it. There's no relationship at all. And I'm trying to set mouse traps, basically, was what it felt like. And I did not like that. So that's an example of a client where we didn't, end up keep working with them. But we have, at this point, we're very blessed to have a lot of clients now in the home service industry that we're doing email for. I'll give a couple of examples. The very first client we ever worked with, Jeff likes clean windows, Megan likes company, Megan and Jeff likes. They were like, hey, could you try running some email campaigns for us? And I said, sure. What do you got going on? They said, well, we're going to do Christmas lighting. We're going to hang up Christmas lights for people's houses. Like, sweet, let's do it. So I put together a campaign structure that I was familiar with, that I thought could work.
And how many, just before we dive in too far, how many emails did they have on their list?
This was a small list. This was like, am I allowed to tell people how many contacts Megan likes have on her email list? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I'll say less than, there's buckets. There's 0 to 5,000, 5 to 10,000, 10,000 plus. That's kind of like the three general buckets. It was less than 5,000.
Yeah, cool.
And we did a campaign, and it was like they couldn't keep up with the leads. They couldn't keep up with the number of replies we were generating. And that was the first time that I thought, maybe I'm not so crazy. Like, maybe this whole relationship first approach, make the emails look like they come from a friend, appeal to the sense of humor, can work. So then I found a couple other home service businesses and even marketing agencies that were willing to test out the same approach. We had a recent company in New Jersey, Bel Air Engineering. We went through our whole process of authenticating their domains, warming up their list of existing contacts that they had in their database. And we were doing 40 to 60% open rates and just like reply after reply after reply on their very first email campaign for people who wanted to book jobs. Because again, all we're trying to do is make it so you don't land in the spam folder. And so that when people see your name pop up in their inbox, they open it and they want to see what you have to offer. They want to see what's going on. They want to reply. That's something else that's unique about our approach is we don't just say, here's a link, click it, or here's a phone number, call it. We ask people to reply and actually start a conversation with us in the inbox. And that makes sense.
Why is that? Maybe you're about to say that, but can you tell people why it's important that people actually respond, not just read?
First of all, you got to think about the context in which people are checking their email. Bored, procrastinating work, on the couch, on the toilet, stuck in traffic, trying to kill time. Generally not a situation where they're prepared to make a phone call or click and go through some arduous process to fill out form. But most home service companies, that's the only options they give is give us a call or fill out this contact form. And so you're actually creating friction. You're adding more steps before the customer can have a conversation with you. But when I say reply to this email with the word fix it because you need to fix your AC, now I have 25 people in my inbox that just all they had to do was click reply with the word fix it and boom, we're in business now. Now we have a conversation going. And so many companies create all this friction and they put all these barriers between the customer and the company. They're basically making it difficult to have a conversation. If there's anything you should be doing with your email marketing, all marketing in general, it's how can I make it as simple as possible for my customer to have a conversation with me? Just so easy, so stupid easy that my response goes up. Because I want conversations. That's what I want. I feel like my whole job at this point is to have as many conversations with the right people at the right time as possible. Now, the more conversations I can start, the better, because that's what this is. This is a high ticket premium business where we're selling air conditioning, plumbing, electrical services, garage door service. These aren't e-commerce trinkets that you just click and buy in 2 clicks. These are expensive, serious purchase decisions that people have to make. So I see as my job to start conversations.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And then it helps with your deliverability too, because, whatever email, whatever the spam filter is, the fact that your domain is getting some replies plays in your favor for sure.
Yeah.
What's a big email flop, whether it's subject line or and working with that cold email company? What's a flop that you learned from? Kind of a quick round of questions here.
A flop. I don't know that I learned anything from this, but a flop. This is my worst nightmare as an email marketer. It's the thing that I always have to double, triple, quadruple check before I send a campaign. Merge fields, making sure I have the merge fields right so that it doesn't say, hey, contact first name at the beginning of the email. In the last 2 years since I started this business, I think that's happened maybe 3 or 4 times where I've sent out a campaign and we didn't get the merge field correct. So the email said, hey, contact first name. Which, all things considered, is a pretty good statistical percentage, right? Of I don't even know how many thousands of emails I sent at this point. But we recently did that with a company that has a big email list. And it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we just sent an email that said, hey, contact first name at the beginning. Luckily, though, definitely. But I also know how to play it off. Because basically I'll follow it up immediately with an email that's like, holy crap, you got to be kidding me. Or, oops, that was embarrassing. Some kind of subject line of that nature. That's like, well, John, I hate to acknowledge the elephant in the room here, but I must. Our last email said, hi, contact first name. That is obviously extremely unprofessional. Huge mistake. As a way to say sorry, here's a 10% off coupon, right? So we'll try to spin it and turn it into something positive for the brand. Again, that's happened maybe 3 or 4 times ever, but that's you don't want that.
Zach's going to turn it into he's going to turn that into a actual play here when he gets ridiculous open rates on his 10% off.
I love it. That'd be the biggest, that's probably the biggest thing that mistake wise that's ever happened. And then we've sent, not every email works, right? Sometimes we send an email and it might still pull a high open rate, but get a low response rate because we didn't get it right. We missed the timing. We didn't pay attention to the context of the situation, like what the weather was, what factors lead to a response in that area. So, but that's why I also love email, because you can't do that with ads, right? When you run an ad, every ad costs money. Every additional ad costs more money. With emails, I can send as many emails as I want and it never costs me more. You have a flat rate with your email service provider. You're paying $40, $100, $200 a month for the ability to send marketing emails. And with that $200 a month, you can send 1 email or you could send 50 emails and your bill's not going to go up.
Yeah.
So if you get it wrong, it's no big deal. Try again tomorrow. Put together a different angle. It's not going to cost you anything more.
Do you think people should email daily, weekly, monthly, when they have a deal, quarterly, yearly, never?
I think you should email as often as you can send high quality content.
I love that.
As often as you can. There's a lot of for daily, which again, if you can publish daily at a high quality bar, absolutely send daily. Like I'm on email newsletters that go out every single day, and I love them because they're just so consistent with the quality. Like probably the most well known example is Seth Godin. Are you familiar with Seth Godin?
I am familiar. I'm not on his list. I mean, I didn't know he did it daily. That's a lot.
Seth stopped. He's been doing it daily for like 2 decades or something like that. It's a very, very, he has an intense streak. So, but he's every single day, and the quality is there. There's another guy named Josh Spector who goes every single day. With my clients, I try to get everybody on at least weekly, if not bi-weekly, in the home services space. I personally am like 2 to 3 to 4 times a week. Generally, the frequency will be higher if I'm like doing more out and about. If I'm going to trade shows or visiting clients, having lots of conversations. Like conversations are huge fodder for me. So I'll generally send more. I actually don't follow the advice to like stick to a strict schedule. When people say you got to send an email every Tuesday at 7 a.m. so that people know exactly when to expect you, I don't really agree with that advice. For a couple of reasons. One is I think unpredictability is actually good if people trust you. If people like you and know you and trust you, being unpredictable can actually play to your favor, because now people are like, when's he going to show up again? When is the next email going to come out? Take, for example, really popular YouTubers. Like Mr. Beast doesn't have a schedule. He publishes the videos when they're ready. And he wants to be consistent, but like he's not going to publish till they're ready. Does that hurt his views because he didn't show up every Tuesday at 7 a.m.? No. If anything, he's got people checking YouTube every single day to see if he did something new. And when he doesn't, it just builds the anticipation for the next thing. So I don't agree with the publish every single week or every day at the exact same time because of that. Because I think if you're good.
Now, what about, if you're good, finish that thought and then I'll
I was just like, if you're good and people trust you, I think that they will engage no matter what, because they're looking forward to it. They're like, when's he going to send the next thing?
Yeah, totally. Because, well, to wrap it forward to what I was going to say with Mr. Beast, I happen to know he sends about Saturdays. Because I have been one that checks, because I just find I find him fascinating.
Is it actually like on Saturdays or sometimes?
It's Saturdays. It's usually every 2 weeks, but sometimes it'll be every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on what's going on in his life. And having listened to some of his interviews, sometimes he'll have scrapped a video and started again because he just didn't like it. But yeah, it's typically same with Dude Perfect. Dude Perfect and Mr. Beast usually are on right around the same one, and it's usually on Saturdays. But the question I was going to ask you is, they're unpredictable in the sense of sometimes they skip. But the question I was going to ask you is, with email, do you pay attention to the times of day, even if it's not the same time every day, but the times of day that get the most open rate? Oh, I can't hear you anymore. I think it must be because you were now. Is that better? Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. It's probably because my phone's the microphone. And so I was on just a YouTube channel. By default, I go early in the morning, like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Because, and my philosophy on this, so far, I don't have like data for sure other than my experience, but I get high open rates in the morning. And my assumption is because people are waking up and checking their phone first thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm seeing you have social media too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, social media, if you can do an early morning or an evening post, it gets much better open rates, at least for my audience, than it does in the middle of the day or like middle of the morning. They have too much of no man's land in there. Evening because they're back home, relaxing after the day. Morning because they're, regretting having woken up, trying to avoid facing reality.
Yeah, mornings are kind of my default.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. What's something that's not email marketing, some out-of-the-box marketing ideas that we haven't talked about that you would recommend someone pay attention to or try? Yeah, preferably based on your experience.
Yeah. At Prolific, we have this thing we call them emblematic touchpoints. And an emblematic touchpoint is a touchpoint in the customer journey, something you do that is emblematic of who you are. For example, Ryan Kettering, the founder of Prolific, he has this amazing story about when he bought a car from Carvana. Have you ever seen Carvana, the car vending machines?
Yeah.
Where he recently bought a Tesla Carvana vending machine. And when you pay for your Tesla, they give you a coin. It's like a big, beautiful coin that you actually put into the machine. to select your car, and then it brings your car down. So Ryan has this incredible video of his son jumping up and down with excitement as they put the coin in, and then the car is coming down like this elevator shaft. That would be what we call an emblematic touch point. It's, first of all, who are you? What do you stand for? What's your brand personality? And now let's find something you can do that represents that to your customer. Not just something that's memorable. If it was just supposed to be memorable, we'd call them memorable touch points. Well, we call them emblematic touch points because they have to be emblematic of who you are. So that's Carvana is one example. At Chick-fil-A, I don't know have you ever been to Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
You ever noticed? I didn't notice this until it was pointed out to me just a couple months ago. I never noticed that when you go to Chick-fil-A, it's basically the only fast food joint where you can't get your own drink. They handle all the drinks behind the counter. They don't have the McDonald's, the Wendy's.
You just don't grab it.
They give
You can mix your drinks. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can taste them all the joys of being a kid.
Yes, 100%. Now, like, it was pointed out to me, though, that Chick-fil-A, though, their whole thing is, we are here to serve you, right? It's our pleasure to serve you. So they have the drinks strategically placed behind the counter so that they can serve it to you, and you don't have to get it yourself. It's emblematic of who they are. Another example would be DoubleTree Hotel, right? DoubleTree Hotel has this cookie, this chocolate chip cookie that they give all their guests every time they check into a hotel. That doesn't scale, makes no sense. Let's give cookies to all the guests. That would get shut down probably in a traditional company meeting, but it's emblematic of who they are and the type of homey environment they're trying to create. A1 Garage Door Service, Tommy Mello, when he, I've heard this story. I've never actually asked Tommy about it or confirmed it with any of his team members, but I also recently heard how when they go into a house and they replace parts on a garage door, they will often leave the parts in a box and just put it on the garage floor. And when they're done, they'll say to the wife or the husband or whoever's home, hey, this box has all the old parts that we took out. If your spouse and decides that we didn't do a good job or they don't like it, I will come back and I will put these old parts back on for you. So they actually leave the parts there strategically, the old ones, so that when that spouse comes home, they see the box of old, dirty, gross parts compared to the beautiful, shining new ones. And who's going to ask you to come back and put the old ones back up? So they're diffusing the whole, like, this cost how much? They did what? Oh, I don't know about this. If they're leaving the proof behind, right? That's part of it. It's emblematic of who they are. High quality service, high quality of guarantees. Like, they stand behind their work. I'll give one more example, which is here in Utah. It's Whipple Service Champions. So Whipple Service Champions, I saw this guy post online and it got a ton of engagement when Whipple Service Champions came to his house and rolled out the red carpet. Like, they literally rolled a red carpet from his air conditioning unit to the front door that the technicians could walk on to keep the floors clean. But the whole idea is we roll out the red carpet for you, right?
Wow.
So at Prolific, we're always trying to help our clients hone in on what moment can you create that's emblematic of who you are. First of all, who are you? Again, what do you believe? What is your personality? What do you want people to say about you? What stories do you want to be known for? And now let's reverse engineer that and figure out what can you do that no one else could do without it feeling cheap or like a ripoff that would stand out and send that message to your customers. It's incredibly powerful. Yeah, I could go on and on. I could give you tons of examples of these.
I love them,
right? Because they're powerful.
Yeah, my mind's cooking with like ideas for us and how we can implement that. I'm also like some stuff that we're not doing already. But my mind goes to, do you know Jesse Cole of the Savannah Bananas?
I know the Savannah Bananas, but I don't know. I don't know who.
Jesse's done a couple books. I think you'd really like them, especially with what it sounds like you're doing at Prolific there with the emblematic touch points. But Jesse talks through like how everything they do is fans first. And I heard him talking on his podcast. I forget the guy's name and I forget the name of the hotel, but it was a hotel and they had a red phone that you would pick up. It was by the pool. So anybody by the pool could go pick up the phone. It would automatically ring to the front desk and they could order a popsicle. It was a popsicle hotline. And so I would come out with popsicles to the pool and give them to them. Not scale.
I love that.
But it just, yeah. So kids loved it. And kids, family, whatever, they also did endless treats. So you could literally order as many candies as you wanted while you were there. And no one actually like did the endless no one actually bottomed it out, but it was just like these little touch points that they would do. I think you'd really enjoy following some of Jesse's stuff. You've got a couple books. One is I got them somewhere here. Oh, they're under. I'm just moving here, but one of them is called Fans First, and that's his whole thing is like, how can we do everything to make it the best, absolute best experience for fans? He's a huge fan of Disney. He read all the Disney books, and yeah,
that's what I'm all about. Like, people come to us for help with their email marketing. They come to us for help with new logos and truck wrap design. Or those are the three things they come to us looking for. Can you help me with email? Can you help me with a rebrand? And that includes the logos and truck wraps.
Yeah.
But the thing that we're always trying to redirect their focus to is emails are great. A beautiful logo is awesome, and a truck wrap that stands out, money, right? It's gonna be your personal billboard that gets 50,000 impressions a day. But we try to redirect attention to the foundation of success in those things. That's why I talk about in email marketing. It's about getting in the inbox, not spam folder, and make sure they trust the name the emails come from. Everything else is majoring in the minors after that. It's a great term I learned from a guy named Ben Settle, by the way. Majoring in the minors. I think about it all the time now. With branding, when people are looking at logos and truck wraps, they look at the beautiful thing that they want, right? The end result. But what most branding companies fail to spend sufficient time on, and what most companies fail to spend sufficient time on is, yeah, but what does the logo stand for? Do you think that the founding fathers just blew together some quick flag for the United States of America? It was just like, let's put some red and white stripes on it, some let's spangle it with stars, right? It was emblematic of who the United States is and was. It's a symbol. Because when we say, I know you guys are in Canada, right?
Yeah.
But like in the United States, when we say the Pledge of Allegiance, what are we pledging allegiance to? I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yeah.
So the symbol is the thing that we are ultimately pledging our allegiance to, what it stands for. So with branding, with email marketing, with all your marketing, the question has to be not what are other companies doing? How can I duplicate it? How can I copy it? How can I be like that or different from it? Because if that's the question you're asking, then from the start, you're at a disadvantage because everything you do is based on someone else. And that's a very difficult way to live. The question needs to be, who are we? What would be uniquely us? What can we do that's so unique, that's so emblematic of who we are, what we stand for, that the customer couldn't possibly forget it even if they tried? That's what I'm trying to do with email. We're selling home services. People buy this stuff maybe twice a year, but we're sending emails every single week. Why is that? Because we want to build a relationship. Because we want to be the only company they think of when they need service. Why do we do beautiful logos and truck wrap designs? It's not just because they look good and you want to look professional. That's part of it. But it's mostly because we want you to have a symbol that you can proudly take into your community that represents who you are, that gives your team something to be proud of and stand behind. I want to start a podcast called This Won't Scale or That Won't Scale, where all I do is just tell stories about these emblematic touch points and these things that companies are doing to brand themselves. I just want to be like, here's another idea that most companies would say that won't scale to, but
I would tune in. I would tune in. It's so fascinating to me because it's a scalable. I talk about this a lot with our team actually. As you know, as a marketing agency, we have to be using AI to stay relevant and to continue to offer more and better services. But we're also investing heavily into the personal touch side of our business, the things that don't scale, because people still want relationships. They still want that feel-good touch. They still want that feeling that they're cared about. And you can definitely automate some of that, but there's also things that you just can't scale. I think you need to start that podcast, man. It's gonna be.
I guess I have to do it now because I just exposed my idea to the whole world. So I got to get it going before somebody listens to this and steals it.
Well, I can tell you've got some passion behind it too, based on conversations we've had, and I think we're tying really nicely with the prolific stuff that you guys are doing too.
Oh yeah, we're just trying to bring people back to, because that's our differentiator, right? There are other companies that do email marketing. There's other companies that do brand design, logos, and truck wraps, but we go deep. It's all about the relationship for us. There's nothing transactional about this. There's nothing quick win about this. This is foundational stuff where we're really trying to help the business owner get clear on who are you, what do you stand for, what do you believe, how do you want to be remembered in your market. Now let's create symbols in the form of logos and truck wraps and emails, for heaven's sakes, that communicate that well. People get so caught up on the channels, though, the things themselves, that they fail to see where it's coming from, that there's real thought and strategy to this that makes it work. When I tell people we do 30 to 50 to sometimes 60% open rates on our marketing emails, they're like, how's that even possible? That's crazy. We do 10 to 15%. And I'm like, we just approach it the right way. We get the foundational pieces of success correct. And then we look at all the little things like where to place the logo, what the copy in the email says. Like we should take a completely different approach. We focus on roots, not branches.
I love that. What's something that you guys are doing that ties into this podcast theme that we didn't talk about that you'd like to kind of bring forward for people?
Yeah, we covered we got the main talking points, I think. I think the last thing I'd say is like in this market, in the age of AI, something I've been thinking about a lot, and that again we really try to help our clients with is in the age of AI, content is ubiquitous. How-to knowledge, listicles, all the traditional stuff that people have relied on to grow their business and use as marketing. How to change your air filter, how to fill in the blank with XYZ problem. That stuff's table stakes, man, because now AI can do that better than any of us and quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I encourage people to really lean on is what is your point of view? What's your stance? What's your opinion? And can you back it up? Right? If you have an opinion or a point of view, but you can't back it up with any real data, you're just an armchair warrior,
But if that became relevant, no, I was just going to say that became relevant with your cold email rant, right? Like you brought forward a very passionate stance about cold email in our conversation today, and then you backed it up with a conversation about how you'd actually worked with someone and kind of realized what it took and it just wasn't for you. But that's your point of view, and anybody who's listening, knows that of course some people make cold email work, but having listened to you and your conversation and kind of understood how important emblematic touch points, how important the customer actual experience is, now you fully understand your point of view and can see why this just isn't something that you're going to partake in. But you backed it up, and now we see Zac's point of view and not, just something that he's throwing out there, regurgitated facts. This is something that actually, he cares about and thinks about.
Again, it has far less. And if I could like abridge that part of this conversation with the part we're having now, right? So I sound like less of a crazy person at the beginning of this, but like my opinion of cold email, for example, has not nearly as much to do with whether or not it works, because it clearly works for many brands and people, right? There are thousands of companies that leverage cold email to grow their business. My opinion has more to do with my personal experience, who I am, and the data that I have personally. Again, like I know who I am. I know the approach that I want to take to this game, and that just doesn't fit. It doesn't work.
Just doesn't
my
work.
Whole thing is building relationships with my audience, with my list, with my clients, the relationships of trust. And cold email just does not match that philosophy at all. So it's like, that's why I won't do it. It just doesn't link up. That and the success rate. I mean, come on, you got to do the volume is incredible that you have to be doing here to make it work.
Pretty bonkers, yeah.
But a point of view, a perspective, right, is so much more enticing as marketing than just how-to content at this point. I want to hear people's opinions. It's hilarious, even with AI. We look at how incredible AI is, but then what kind of content are we ultimately looking for? What did so-and-so say about this? I wonder what this guy thinks. I wonder what Joe Rogan's going to say about this topic. I wonder what expert A, Y, B, C, D, all these people, right? We want to know what people think about this stuff. Like, that's what we're really drawn to. Ryan Dice once said, people love stories, but we crave characters. Yeah, we live in a great moment right now where you can, and Hollywood's proof of that. How many movies get produced by Hollywood? If stories really were king, like we say they are, well, then every movie would be a blockbuster. But most movies are flops. Most movies fail terribly at the box office, and they never get watched.
And then the ones that continue to be watched are the ones that had really, really strong characters.
Yeah, there's this relationship that you build with the characters inside, which again is why the from name matters so much more than the subject line. Is why who the brand is, like what you stand for, matters so much more than just what the logo or the truck looks like. we're trying to figure out what that character piece, because that's what all of this revolves around. It's people crave their characters.
People crave their characters. I think it's you've mentioned before in some of your posts about AI being actual intelligence. I like, hey, this was written with AI. Parentheses, actual intelligence. Talk about AI, to continue on this theme of people craving, honest, integrous conversations with actual characters that have actual opinions. Why do you rant against AI for writing content or writing
Off
content?
the record, I use AI a lot. Like I am all for using it. I get plugged in with some new AI tool every week. I'm a big fan. But the best way for me to describe it is I don't want to trick people. And what I see happening is, one, I see AI being used to trick people, and I see AI being used to take shortcuts. When people use AI as like it's doing their thinking for them. They're not critically thinking, and they're not working through their strategy to make sure that it's clear and coherent and makes sense. They're just having AI come up with something for them. And I mean, there's companies coming up now to like solve the problems that AI creates for businesses, because people they outsource their thinking, and then they're surprised when they get a bad result. It's like, your thinking might be the most important part of your life and business, and you're outsourcing it. So I don't like when people outsource their thinking. And I don't have like a hard rule on it, like this is the point that you should stop using it, because you're damaging your ability to think. But I think right when you've reached a point where it's like, okay, I'm on autopilot now. This is doing all the thinking for me. So I don't like that. I also don't like tricking people. I follow a lot of people on Facebook and LinkedIn, and as somebody who's like a trained copywriter, I can see it. I can spot it. I know when you wrote with AI. It's very obvious. It's extremely obvious when someone writes with AI.
Little words.
Yes.
Yeah.
The lines of three, right? Like 3 lines with no spaces between them on top of each other, like a sandwich, with some pithy, the M dashes, the emojis all over the place. Like there are certain tells.
Yeah.
And it just, again, with who I am, it just bothers me to see a person that I trust and think I have a relationship with, putting this stuff out there that that's not them. Like they're not in it, and trying to pass it off as their own. I don't know. It bothers me. Like, I want to hear from you.
You want the real integrous conversation.
I want to know what your way of putting it. I don't want to know what ChatGPT thinks you think.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. Right. If it's just like strictly corporate communication, or you're just trying to communicate, like, this is what this thing is, right? Here are the features and benefits, trying to simplify some technical jargon so that it's easy for, I have no problem with any of that. Like I use it for that kind of stuff, right? When I'm trying to explain components of a garage door or an air conditioning system, or, a water heater, I'll use AI to simplify the language, come up with analogies, right? Again, I think those things would probably be better if I did all of it, but it's the relationship, when it starts to get in the way of the relationship between you and the people who you profess to serve. Confess? What word am I for? Profess, right? Yeah, it's profess.
I think
who you profess to serve, that bothers me. I see a lot of that on my feeds right now, where I'm like, man, that's a real bummer. Like, I know you wrote that with AI, but you got this whole string of poetry that you're like trying to be Tony Robbins right now, and it's just not who you are. Right? Like, be yourself. Don't be Lewis GPT,
Don't hand in someone else's homework.
Yeah. So that's what bothers me about it. Like, I use it a ton, but it's like, I know when not to use it as well. And I think that's just as important.
I would agree. I think it's, my wife and I were talking, she uses it as a therapist. And now she does have like 3 degrees, all relating to like education, psychology, and social work. So she can prompt it in different ways than, someone might be able to. And she's using, she's using it to elevate what she already might know. I was talking to a friend of mine about how you can basically use it as a business coach to analyze different things too. But if you don't have those initial prompts, those initial ideas to feed it, then it's just going to feed your bias, because sometimes it'll give me results and I'm like, no, that you didn't get it at all. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out. But it's a very, very quick way to get feedback in whatever you're doing and to elevate what you already have. It's a little bit like money. It just amplifies what you already have. And if you just spit out emoji crap and poetry and all that, then we know you didn't have a whole lot to start with.
It's just like in the initial stages. I'm not an AI expert at all, but just my impression is that you got to train it like you train an employee too.
Yeah.
Because AI is the ultimate yes man. Like, it's so funny if you go in there and you try brainstorming with it or getting feedback from it. Let's say it gives you some advice based on what you're going through. If you then disagree with the advice and tell it, no, I don't agree with you, it will agree with you again.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're
totally right, Lewis. Yeah, that was not good advice. It will just keep agreeing with you no matter what you say over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, seriously? It's like that annoying guy that like never admits his faults, but like or is always super apologetic about everything and never just doesn't want to upset you, right? People pleaser, right? It's the ultimate people pleaser. So, but in your settings on those platforms, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT, you could give it instructions on how to talk to you. So like in mine, I have instructions like never acknowledge that you're an AI. I know it. You don't need to tell me that. Treat me like I know what I'm doing. Don't assume that I'm dumb. Treat me like I'm a subject matter expert in these things. Ask a question before you give me an answer on things. So ask a clarifying question so I know you have more context before you jump to a solution. So you can give it instructions and train it on how you want it to talk to you. And I think that's, if you want to use it effectively, I think that's really important so that you're not just having a conversation with a yes man who's telling you all your ideas are good, even when they might not be.
I love the question thing. I always tell it something and then ask it to ask me 20 questions, and then I'll just voice note it back to it.
Oh, that's good too.
I'm really good at answering questions when I'm stuck. Like if I'm stuck on something, I can't like actually create the thought. I'll be like, this is my problem. Ask me 20 questions to get more context so that we can, work through it. And then I'm really good at answering questions. I'm like, no, that's a silly question to ask. And then it like helps me figure it out too.
Yeah.
So it's Zach, this has been fun. We could obviously meander through a bunch of different topics here, but I always say this for everybody watching or listening to the show. If you've made it this far, go back to any of the points that we talked about, whether it's the emblematic moments, whether it's the email marketing, don't sit on your past clients and waste them, waste the potential lifetime value from those clients. Get out in front of them, even if it's just hey, appreciate you. You make our business rock and we couldn't do this without you. Do something, but then, even better to what Zach was saying, get out there and do it consistently. Think on a 5-year time horizon. I really like that 5-year time horizon. Go back through, listen to the podcast again, or take notes if you weren't already, and pick something and do it. Because the point of this is not just to make your eardrums feel good with good ideas, but to go out and actually have you get tactical on something. So Zach, really appreciate you jumping on today. Where can people find you and how can they follow more of your life and your conversations, and where can they get on your email list and all that good stuff?
I haven't turned on the welcome sequence yet. I'm trying to finish the ultimate welcome sequence for this email list. But if you want to get on it before I publish the welcome sequence, you're welcome to go to prolificbranddesign/questions. That's prolificbranddesign.com/questions. There's a lead magnet there, 7 questions to ask a branding agency before you trust them with your life's work.
I like that.
We have not published the welcome sequence yet. Like, I have not driven any traffic to this page yet. When is this going to be published, this episode?
It'll be in a couple 3 weeks. So I'll get you to send me that exact URL, and then we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Okay, it'll be ready by then. So yeah, I'm working on like the ultimate welcome sequence. That's just people think they know what a welcome sequence is. Like first email, second email. I'm about to flip my script on welcome sequences with this one. So.
Well, it sounds like we've got an emblematic moment loading there.
That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I'm trying to like really get super creative with it. You'll see. So go to prolificbranddesign.com/questions. Enter your info there, and you'll officially be on my list.
Love it, man. Guys, appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Marketing Without Rules. Get out there, be a hunter. Don't sit back and be a gatherer. No one wants those people, and you probably aren't going to last in business if you're one of those people. So get out there, take action, and tune in for more awesome guests like Zach. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.